Hello and welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show. In this episode, we speak to Jeremy Yarnazelli about how he's bought 9 properties in less than 5 years. And guess what? He's only just turned 26 years old. G'day everyone and welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show. I'm Phil Tarrant. I'm the editor of Smart Property Investment and I'm also a passionate property investor. Really excited about this one. We've got Jeremy Yarnazelli in here for the Smart Property Investment Show podcast. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Did I?
You did, mate. Perfect.
So say hello to everyone, Jeremy.
Hello, guys. How you going? I hope everyone's well and had a fantastic new year, and I hope they've done your goals and your settings for the new year as well.
Jeremy, he's one of the sort of most driven young investors I think I have seen. He's only 26 years old. And this guy has already got 9 properties under his belt, and that's totally blown me away. I've known Jeremy for a while, a couple of years now, but I didn't realise he was that far progressed in his property buying. And I'm pretty impressed. And I doubt there's many blokes at your age, Jeremy, who are sort of sitting there with 9 properties under their belt. A couple of things I want to chat to you today, and we could chat all day about your experience buying property and how you're going with it all. But you're 26 years old, mate. You should be out spending your money on beer or backpacking around Europe or doing all the other stuff, which means that you haven't got a penny to your name. Mate, how did you get 9 properties so young?
It's a bit of a long story, but it stems through from an early age, obviously. I loved saving money. I loved working, especially as a young kid. I had a first job at a pizza shop, as most young kids do, and earning my $7.50 an hour and refereeing on soccer games on the weekend for a little bit of cash money, so it all helped. But it was just, getting towards that age of 17 and 18 years of age, and I saw my father and, him being an accountant as well, similar to myself. It was stemmed through us, that we need to invest, save your money, put your money into a property, a bit of a solid foundation at an early age. So it was just, part and parcel with work, what I was doing at the time, I'd been an accountant. I saw successful people and what successful people were doing. And that was putting their hard-earned savings into investment properties. And I was lucky enough to see the start of that boom in 2011, 2012. And I was lucky enough to be in that boom as well and riding the wave with a lot of other people and seeing equity grow. So it was a transition between a young adult into where it is today.
How did your dad educate you about money? So obviously you're an accountant, so you understand there's a lot of disciplines and principles, and it doesn't matter whether you're an accountant in Australia or accountant in America or accountant in England. There's basic fundamentals, which is essentially how money flows from X to Y and does all this, that and the other, and there's a whole bunch of tax implications associated with it. But what did your father instill in you in terms of understanding what money was and how money worked?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I tend to tell people a little bit about that as well, what my father taught me, so maybe they can teach their children who are growing up the same. But, round table discussions, coming home and understanding what, $1 today is $2 tomorrow, understanding the power of the compounding interest effect as well. A bit of a funny story I like to tell people on my 13th birthday. Other kids got PlayStations and push bikes, and my dad bought me 1,000 Telstra shares. So it was a fantastic present looking back when I was 21, when I was able to sell them at a good price. But back at 13, you think what a waste of a money piece of paper is. So those are the type of things that he done for me as a young kid to really instill to me that saving is an integral part of growing up. And $1 today has resulted in many dollars after many years. So very fortunate to have that guidance and influence as well. He was a strong saver as well.
What other education outside of those things have you done to prepare yourself to be initially a property investor and then a multiple property investor? Very
much started as a hands-on person, as all 19, 18-year-old kids are. If you put a book in front of them, they're more tendently just to throw it aside and maybe get on the internet or Facebook. So I was very hands-on. I thought that's the way to force myself to really progress. So I got out there and I looked at properties. I got out there with my father on weekends and I dragged him along. I had a partner at the time and I was dragging her along to open houses as well and auctions and getting a feel for the market, getting a feel for how it worked. As a 19-year-old 20-year-old, it's pretty daunting going into an auction and trying to bid. So getting myself familiar with the process was huge. Getting myself familiar with how real estate agents work, that's another benefit as well. What makes them tick, how to work out whether or not, that you're getting the right deal or not. So I was hands-on at the start for the initial property, the first one I bought, and then it got more data-orientated to really understand where the yields are, where the growth is, where the prospective growth is, what a council's doing, what a state government's doing. So I'd like to say that hands-on approach initially is good. It benefits you, it keeps you in the game, and then moving forward to get that next level investor, you really need to focus on the data and what's the future in hold or in still for a particular area.
Just keeping on talking about money before we get to goal setting, because it's connected. 9 properties, and I'm imagining you're okay chatting about this stuff.
Yep.
What is the total dollar value of the value of the properties in your portfolio now?
It's about 2.5 mil, give or take a little bit more, a little bit less as a market value.
Okay.
And against that, there's probably about close to 1.8, maybe just under in terms of loan.
Okay.
So there's a good 700,000
700k
plus equity.
You're the mass guy. 700k on 2.5 million value.
Oh, you're really putting me on the scope here, mate.
Yeah, it's good. It's not bad. It's a reasonable LVR then on it. You're not sort of drowning in debt.
No. Look, on average speaking, I like to float between 65 to 75%. I think that's a comfortable leverage because it leaves, I suppose, enough leeway in the belt. So if you need to tighten, you can. And if you need to loosen, you can as well. So I think that having that type of leverage, it really helps you through both cycles, whether it's a down cycle or an up cycle. So you really need to maintain, that little bit of buffer, because the last thing you want to do is come to refinancing point of view after interest free period's up, and unfortunately maybe you're stuck with paying LMI again on the same property. So having that buffer helps.
So for our listeners, we're talking about the loan to value ratio, which is essentially the amount of debt that you're holding compared to the total value of the property or the assets, whether it's individually or as a pool. So Jeremy like to keep his around 60 to 75%, which is, for a lot of people, they think that was quite risky. For a lot of people, they think that's extremely conservative. It's just really where your risk appetite lies. And I'm not sort of qualified to be able to give people financial advice. But for generally someone in your sort of age bracket at 26, that's probably an LVR which is reasonably comfortable.
Yeah, it's comfortable. Look, and I get to see a lot of people's leverages, as you would know, and in the profession that I'm in. So, look, generally speaking, I saw the average leverage go up as people really started to expand their portfolio. It's really the only way to do it. We want to aggressively buy. So I'm starting to see people's average leverage anywhere between about 80 all the way up to about 90%. Now, not necessarily am I comfortable with that, but again, as you said, all people are different and have different risk appetite as well. So it's about if you can manage it as well, based on cash flow, what your income is, what your goals are. So all those things are a combination, but 60 to 65, 75, in between that is where I'm comfortable.
Over time, you want to grow your property portfolio. Can you just explain to myself and also our listeners, what's your goals in property investing? Why are you doing it? And what do you hope will happen as a result of it?
So I started the journey about 21, 26 now. So I started the journey about 5 years ago, and I really said to myself, you know what, I've got to make a good go of it. I'm not going to take a half attempt and fail. I rather just go hard and really put myself into it, neck deep, as they say, and just give myself all the opportunity in the world that I can. Fortune favours the brave, as they say. But I started 21. I did all my research, and I said to myself, by 30, I would love to achieve 10 properties. And I thought that was a reasonable goal. I had 9 years to do it, which meant 10 properties in 9 years. And I said to myself, it's reasonable. It's still aggressive. Not everyone can achieve that for different circumstances, but I made that my goal, and I've been working every day towards that, and I'm not too far away. Only one more to go, but nevertheless, I'm not rushing into it. If it happens in the next year or it happens in the next 2 or 3 years, as long as I hit my goal of 10 by 30, I'll be very happy.
And where did that goal come from? Was that your goal, or was that influenced by your wider network or property mentors, if you want to call them?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I got to see people with 2 properties. I got to see people with 10, and I've got to meet people with 50, 60, 70, all the way up to 100 properties. So I've got to see a wide range of how different people have invested. And
that's being an accountant.
That's being an accountant, yeah. And it comes back down to the old rule that it's the time in the property, and it's not something that happens overnight. It's definitely not something that happens in 1 year or 2 years. It may take a little bit longer, and each people have different times to achieve that. So I said to myself that I'm going to give myself time, and I think 10 was reasonable, and it was an internal goal as well as a little bit of an influence from other people saying, you know what, you can achieve it, and 10 is not an outraged number.
So that's your immediate, when you first said it, it was sort of mid-term goal.
Yeah.
Now it's a very short-term goal, one more property in 4 years, and I don't think you have a problem sorting that out unless something goes wrong, but it will. But sort of big picture, why are you doing this? I imagine it's a wealth creation.
Yeah, look, it started off as, and I'll be open and honest, I started off as, I wanted to retire young. I wanted to get rich, and I thought, that's the whole goal in life, is get rich, retire young, and have a ball. But I've started to realise that, I love doing what I do. I love investing. I think it's fun. I love educating myself. I love talking and educating other people on it. Now it's changed in the sense that I want it to complement what I do. I want to use my own portfolio to assist people to create their own, and I like to think that I am a positive influence in the community. I do get out there and spend a lot of time and chat with people, and not necessarily do I get paid for that time. It's more so just because I love doing what I do. But as I've got to 26, and I'm sure as I get older, I love working, as I mentioned, and it's something that I'll probably see myself doing until the brain starts to really say no more. But the goal now in terms of what I want to do is to continue to invest, to really push myself to the next level. But it's transformed in a way that I want to encourage people to really get on board and use myself as an example and say, look, I didn't necessarily have the golden spoon or the silver spoon. It was through hard work and a lot of research, and you can achieve it as well.
So are you looking to replace your income at some point in time with property, or is that just going to be a bit of a kicker?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I would love to replace income with property because it gives you options, and having more options in life is fantastic. So it allows you to explore different things. That would be a great result if it does, and I'm sure it will over a longer period of time. But essentially, if I can continue growing, that extra income will continue to fill the gap, and the next property will come with it. It's all about testing the limits now. It's all about testing myself and how much I've got to give. And that's what I really enjoy the most.
Mate, when I was 26 years old, I was lucky to be able to have enough money to buy a couple of schooners of beer. So I'm really impressed. But when I was 26 years old, I'd done quite a lot up until that point, and messed around and backpacked and all that sort of stuff. I think what you've done is absolutely commendable, and I'm very, very impressed. Do you feel like you've missed out with anything by doing this?
Yeah, it's a great question, Phil. I get asked that all the time. I get asked that from family. I get asked that from friends. I get asked that from clients, because obviously they say that you need to sacrifice to get those things in life. And there's an element of truth to that question in the answer that I didn't go backpacking around Europe and backpacking around the States and spend numerous amounts of things on fast cars and fancy holidays and the finer things in life. I lived to my budget. I gave myself a good budget, and I did get to go on a couple of holidays. I went on a couple of cruises, and I've done a Thailand trip with a close friend of mine, and got to spend a bucks party in Vegas, which was fun. But all that happened towards the midway through my 20s. My focus was getting through uni, completing my degree in accounting, really cementing myself in the position that I was in, and really setting that foundation strong. So, when I'm 30 years old and 35, I can really start to open up my wings and enjoy the things maybe I should have done at that age. Because I always say never too late to experience life.
Oh, absolutely.
So is there any regrets? Probably not. I look back and I say I'm happy with what I've done. But would I want to go on the Europe trips and all that stuff? Well, they're in the pipeline.
Yeah, that's good. Well, the thing is that, what you're doing right now, it's got to give you the capacity to do those things. A lot of people want to create wealth for a whole bunch of different reasons. Some people just want to be rich for the sake of being rich. Some people like the opportunities that being financially comfortable provides. So whether or not you go backpacking when you're 20, or whether you sort of can travel in style when you're 30 because you've got a nice property portfolio bubbling and boiling away in the background. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
I appreciate it.
Good.
Thank
Make
you.
sure you stay in touch. For all of our listeners, we're going to have some more information on smartpropertyinvestment.com.au, so make sure you go check it out. Jeremy will be giving some of his more tips and tactics for how he's been able to build his property portfolio so quickly. I remember also you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter if you want to keep up to date with what we're up to and what we're doing. Jeremy, say goodbye to everyone.
Mate, thank you very much, and take care everybody, and have a fantastic 2016 year.
Thank you everyone. See you later.